The Eternal Rose. In the heart of the galaxy, on the twin-sunned world of Nexus Prime, a single flower can decide the fate of empires. For the Nixan nobility, the Eternal Rose is more than beauty. It is a vow, a promise of union and a binding contract to create the next generation of their bloodline. Kevin Moore, a human soldier turned diplomatic security officer, knew none of this when a silver-eyed alien princess placed that flower in his hands. What began as a polite gesture will ignite a chain of trials, rivalries, and revelations, leading to an alliance that could reshape the stars themselves. Some stories begin with war. This one begins with a mistake and a flower.
The flower that started it all. The twin suns of Nexus Prime blazed down on the crystalline gardens of the Interstellar Embassy. Kevin Moore, diplomatic security specialist, moved through his morning workout sweat glistening over scarred muscle trophies from years of protecting high-value targets. He pivoted, driving a punch into the heavy bag, the thud echoing off the crystal walls. Ambassador Thompson's morning briefing starts in 20 minutes. Eve, his AI assistant, chimed inside his neural link. Got it. Just need a quick shower, Kevin replied, grabbing his towel and turning toward the embassy. Then, a flash of lavender caught his eye. By the crystalline fountain stood a woman unlike any he'd seen. Skin the soft hue of amethyst hair, a waterfall of shimmering violet and silver eyes that carried both aristocratic grace and untamed fire. She smiled, pearly white teeth gleaming against her alien skin. Forgive my intrusion. I am Lady Atilla Niellen. I could not help but admire your training. Kevin, suddenly aware he was still shirtless, gave a half smile. Kevin Moore, Embassy Security. No intrusion at all, my lady, though I should probably be wearing a shirt in front of a dignitary. Her lips curved with playful defiance. Please don't change on my account. We Nixans appreciate natural beauty. The way she said it sent a subtle jolt down his spine. Before he could reply, a stern male voice called from the embassy entrance. Lady Atilla, the council awaits. She sighed, her gaze holding his. I do hope we meet again, Kevin Moore. As she glided away, Kevin couldn't shake the feeling this was more than a passing encounter. Weeks later, their paths kept crossing in the gardens, at diplomatic receptions, in corridors where duty put them side by side. Words remained polite, but the glances, the smiles, pushed against the edge of professionalism. One morning, while Kevin was reviewing security protocols, Atilla approached. In her hands, a radiant pink flower, its petals pulsing with a faint inner glow, silver thorns catching the sunlight. A token of my appreciation, she said, offering it with both hands. Something about the formality prickled at his diplomatic instincts, but her warm smile disarmed him. He accepted, bowing slightly. It's beautiful. Attila's eyes lit with joy. She stepped closer and pressed a gentle kiss to his cheek. The pleasure is mine, Kevin Moore. Now I have wonderful news to share with my family. She left in a near dance of satisfaction, and Kevin was left staring after her with the vague, uneasy sense that he had just agreed to something far larger than accepting a simple gift. Diplomatic disaster incoming. Kevin's morning began with an urgent ping in his neural link. Moore, my office, now. We have a situation. Ambassador Thompson's voice crackled with uncharacteristic tension. Still holding the mysterious pink flower from the day before, Kevin strode into the ambassador's office. The older man was pacing, silver hair, disheveled, a rare sight for the usually composed diplomat. Do you have any idea what you've done? Thompson demanded. Sir, this about the flower, Kevin asked. That flower is the Eternal Rose of Nixus, Thompson said, rubbing his temples. By accepting it, you've essentially agreed to marry Lady Atilla, and not just marry their traditions, have very specific expectations about procreation. Kevin blinked. I what? The ambassador sighed. The Nixan royal family will be here in an hour to discuss the union ceremony. Apparently, Lady Atilla informed them immediately after you accepted her proposal. Kevin ran a hand over his face. I thought it was just a gift. That, Thompson said grimly, is exactly why you're in my office instead of on a shuttle home. Before Kevin could respond, Eve's voice cut in. Sir, Lady Atilla and her family have arrived early. They're in the Grand Hall. The Grand Hall was a cathedral of crystalline light, its vaulted ceilings reflecting the lavender glow of the Nixan nobility gathered inside. Atilla stood at the center, radiant, flanked by two figures Kevin instantly recognized as her parents. She rushed forward, taking his hands in hers. I'm so happy you're here. Mother, father, this is my chosen one. Her father, Lord Thalon Nixan, stepped forward tall, imposing his robe edged with silver glyphs denoting his high rank. You have accepted my daughter's proposal. Remarkable courage for a human. Our bloodline has never merged with your species before. Kevin felt heat crawl up his neck. My lord, I think there's been a cultural misunderstanding. Attila's mother interrupted with a musical laugh. But you accepted the Eternal Rose. Surely your embassy briefed you on our customs? Before Kevin could dig himself deeper, Thompson stepped in smoothly. Perhaps we should discuss this privately. The Grand Hall is hardly the right place for intimate matters. In a private conference room, the truth hit Kevin like a shock grenade. The Eternal Rose wasn't just a romantic gesture, it was the Nixan nobility's most sacred mating ritual, reserved for genetically chosen mates predicted to produce exceptional offspring. Our seers have studied your compatibility, Lord Thalon said. Your human adaptability combined with our psychic lineage could create something unprecedented. Attila's hand slipped into his. I chose you, Kevin Moore. From the moment I saw you, I knew. Kevin's heart was pounding, half panic, half something else. Then Lord Thalon dropped the last detail. The ceremony must take place within 3 lunar cycles to ensure proper timing of conception. Trial of worth. The council chamber shimmered with refracted light as Lord Thalon laid out the next step. In our tradition, any who would marry a Nixan noble must pass the trial of worth. Kevin folded his arms. And if I fail, then there will be no union, Thalon replied, and your refusal will shame both our houses. Attila stepped forward, her silver eyes bright. Don't worry, beloved. It's only 3 challenges. Strength, mind, and adaptability. Most nobles arrange their marriages politically. This is far more exciting. The first trial, strength and endurance. The crystalline gates of the ancient arena groaned open. Thousands of Nixan nobles filled the stands, a lavender sea of expectant faces. The master of ceremonies' voice echoed. The challenger must defeat the guardian of the ancient ways. The ground trembled. From the shadows lumbered a bioengineered beast, part rhinoceros, part mountain, its crystalline armor glinting like ice. Kevin rolled his shoulders. Big guy, got it. The guardian charged. Kevin dove aside, combat instincts kicking in. The thing was strong, but its attack pattern was predictable, ancient programming meant for brute contests of power. Your species is physically weaker than ours, the guardian's synthetic voice boomed. How can you protect a Nixan mate? Kevin grinned, vaulting over its back. It's not the size of the dog in the fight. His suit's neural interface linked with the guardian's armor. Years in diplomatic security had taught him to bypass hostile systems. This was no different. The armor's glow shifted power, redirecting until the massive creature knelt in submission. The crowd gasped. Lord Thalon's eyes narrowed, but there was grudging respect there. Impressive. He used intellect over brute force. The second trial, the psychic maze. The world shifted around him into an endless labyrinth, the walls rippling like water. Whispers filled his head. Your mind is untrained. How can you bond with a Nixan noble? Illusions of Attila appeared, each more alluring than the last, designed to break his focus. Kevin clenched his jaw. Humans may think differently, but our determination is unmatched. He pushed through, ignoring the temptations, and reached the maze's core in record time. The third trial, adaptability. This time the arena shifted violently, burning desert, freezing tundra, zero gravity, each lasting seconds. Opponents flickered between solid and pure energy. Your species is rigid. You cannot evolve with us. Kevin laughed, moving with the chaos, letting his suit sink to his movements. Humanity's greatest strength. We adapt to anything. He used the environment itself as a weapon, collapsing ice on one attacker, redirecting energy strikes into sandstorms that blinded the rest. When the dust cleared, he stood victorious. The arena, normally silent, erupted in cheers. The master of ceremonies raised his hands. The human has passed the trial of worth. Kevin turned to Attila, who descended the royal box, holding a new eternal rose glowing brighter than the first. This time she said softly, you must accept, knowing exactly what it means. He looked at her and smiled. I accept. The crowd roared, crystal towers lighting in celebration until a deep voice cut through the noise. I invoke the law of ancestral trials. Lord Kevo, head of a rival noble house, stepped into the arena, emerald robes swirling. The human must complete the sacred 7 before any union or any breeding can occur. Sacred Seven began. The crowd fell into a tense hush. The law of ancestral trials hadn't been invoked in generations. Most considered it a relic of a ruthless past. Lord Thalen's face darkened. Those laws were abandoned for a reason, Cavall. And yet, Cavall smirked, they remain valid. Unless you wish to dishonor your house and dilute your bloodline with an untested outsider. Kevin stepped forward before Thalen could respond. Fine, name the first trial. Cavall blinked, not expecting the human to accept so easily. It begins at moonrise in the Chamber of Eternal Frost. Trial 1, the Chamber of Eternal Frost. Hours later, Kevin stood before an ancient gateway rimed in thick ice, wearing a thermal suit that already felt inadequate. The air spilling from within bit like acid. You must retrieve this crystal of warming from the chamber's heart, Cavall explained smugly. No Nixan has survived more than 10 minutes inside. Kevin smirked. Good thing I'm not Nixan. He turned to Attila. Quick question, your people, no humans can regulate our body heat, right? What do you mean, she asked, confused. Kevin just winked and stepped inside. The cold hit like a physical blow, but he kept moving. Unknown to the Nixans, humans possess brown adipose tissue, biological heat generators designed for survival in extreme cold. As his body shivered, that dormant furnace roared to life. Attila's mother whispered from the observation platform, he's producing his own heat. Fascinating. 8 minutes later, Kevin emerged, beard-frosted crystal in hand-core temperature stable. The nobles stared in stunned silence. Trial 2, the maze of quantum uncertainty. The arena shifted again, becoming a labyrinth, where walls appeared and vanished at random. Gravity twisted sideways, and corridors folded in on themselves. Kivall's voice echoed mockingly. Your primitive mind cannot comprehend quantum mechanics. You'll be lost forever. Kevin laughed. Sometimes trying to understand everything just slows you down. Closing his eyes, he let instinct take over, moving with the shifts rather than fighting them. He navigated by rhythm and gut feel, emerging at the exit with the quantum key in hand. Kevall's composure cracked. Impossible. The trials don't lie, Lord Thalen said sharply. He passed. Trial 3, Temporal Distortion Gauntlet. Kevin stepped into a chamber where time itself bent like liquid, moments stretched into eternities, then snapped back in heartbeats. It was disorienting, nauseating, but Kevin adapted his movements to the irregular tempo. By the end, he walked out steady, while Nixan spectators murmured in disbelief. 6 more trials remained, each deadlier than the last. But the human's confidence only seemed to grow. Attila caught his arm as he passed. Beloved, these challenges were made to kill outsiders. Yeah, Kevin said with a grin. Let's make them regret writing the rules. Speaking to the light. The next trial chamber was vast and dim, the walls humming with an alien frequency that prickled Kevin's skin. In the center floated 3 towering forms of pure light and energy, their shapes constantly shifting, impossible to fully look at. Attila's voice came over the comm before the seal closed. These are the Luminara, ancient allies of my people. They communicate only through direct mind resonance. Fail to establish a link, and the trial ends in death. The door slammed shut behind him. The air felt charged, heavy with static. Then a voice, not in his ears but inside his skull, boomed. Human, your kind is noise, chaos. You cannot speak as we do. Kevin chuckled under his breath. Funny. People have been telling me that my whole life. He took a deep breath, remembering training exercises in sensory isolation, slowing his thoughts, letting them take shape, not as words but as images. He pictured a bridge stretching across a dark gulf, and on the other side, the Luminara. The chamber pulsed. One of the beings shimmered in approval. You adapt your mind. Interesting. Kevin sent another image, humans surviving storms, crossing oceans, walking on the moon. Then an image of himself and Attila standing together against a vast galaxy. The energy forms brightened their frequency, shifting to a warmer hum. Your connection to the Nixan female is strong. You may pass. The door opened. Kevin stepped out, grin wide. Turns out humans can talk just fine. We just prefer to do it with pictures. Trial 5, Genetic Adaptation. Crucible. Without rest, he was led into a lab-like chamber. Bioorganic pods hissed open, releasing controlled environmental extremes, crushing gravity, toxic atmospheres, searing heat. Nixan physiology was engineered to handle specific conditions, but Kevin's body kept adjusting blood chemistry, shifting muscles, reoxygenating faster with each change. A medical adept watching the readouts gasped. His DNA is rewriting itself in real time to match the environment. That's called evolution on the fly, Kevin said through the comm. Human specialty. Kivel's smile was gone now. Only 2 trials remained. He leaned in close as Kevin passed. Enjoy your victories while you can. The next challenge will strip you bare. The Chamber of Emotional Resonance. The chamber door slid open with a hiss, revealing a circular space no wider than 20 paces across. The walls were jagged crystal, each shard faintly pulsing with a rhythm that felt disturbingly like a heartbeat. The air inside shimmered as though thick with invisible currents. Kevin stepped inside the door, sealing behind him with a deep thunk. His breath fogged faintly, though the temperature was mild. From the observation deck above, Attila's voice floated through the comm, low, almost hesitant. These are resonance crystals, beloved. They amplify every emotion you feel and feed it back to you. Most Nixans pass because we've trained since childhood to master our emotions. Kevin snorted lightly, flexing his fingers. And humans fail because we let ours run wild. Because they overwhelm you, she corrected softly. The trial began without warning. A low hum rippled through the floor, rising up his legs and into his bones. The crystals glowed faintly, then flared brighter as his heart rate kicked up. Suddenly, images crashed into his mind, too vivid to be memories. The sound of shrapnel tearing through a battlefield. The tight, desperate grip of a comrade he couldn't save. The helpless rage of watching civilians caught in crossfire. His pulse spiked and the crystals burned hotter, projecting those emotions back into him with suffocating force. Then the vision shifted. The first time he stepped onto alien soil. The electric spark when Attila's silver eyes met his across the garden. The quiet moments they'd shared between duties, a warmth that refused to fade. A deep, echoing voice filled the chamber. You feel too deeply human. Your emotions will break you. Kevin gritted his teeth, sinking to one knee as the feedback grew sharper. Every emotion came back, multiplied. Grief became despair. Love became aching vulnerability. Pride became a crushing weight of responsibility. But then, something clicked. No, he said aloud, forcing his voice to steady. Our emotions don't break us. They define us. He stopped trying to block the storm. Instead, he opened to it. Let the grief remind him why he fought. Let the love for Atilla burn hot enough to cut through the fear. Let the pride in being human anchor him to the ground. The crystals reacted instantly. Their colors shifted from chaotic flashes to a harmonious spectrum, weaving into intricate patterns that spiraled up the walls like living art. The hum deepened, turning into a resonant harmony that filled the air with a strange, exhilarating energy. From the deck above, an elder Nixan whispered in disbelief, "He's stabilizing the chamber. No one's ever done that." The feedback loop reversed instead of crushing him. The energy now flowed with him. Kevin rose to his feet, every movement steady and sure. The final pulse of light bathed the chamber in gold before fading to darkness. The door slid open. Kevin stepped out, eyes still bright with the afterglow of the resonance. Caval's voice was tight with disbelief. The final trial remains. Lord Thalen stood, his tone measured but firm. The ancient laws state that if a challenger surpasses the scope of the trials, they may be declared complete. The council will decide. The murmurs among the nobles left no doubt they'd seen something unprecedented. Atilla was already moving her robes, whispering against the crystal floor as she crossed to him. She seized his hands, eyes shining like molten silver. You amaze me, beloved. Though I am almost disappointed we're skipping the last trial. Kevin's grin was slow and dangerous. Who says we're skipping that? Her smirk matched his. Then you'd better be ready for the Temple of Union. The Temple awakens. The Temple of Union stood at the heart of the Nixan capital, a living monument older than their recorded history. Its crystalline spires reached toward the sky like frozen lightning, each one humming faintly, with a resonance Kevin could feel in his bones. As they approached, Attila's hand tightened around his. Her silver eyes gleamed in the twin sun's light. The temple has been dormant for centuries. It only awakens when a union is significant. Significant, how Kevin asked. Significant enough to alter the course of 2 civilizations. Inside, the temple breathed. That was the only way Kevin could describe it. The walls pulsed faintly as though inhaling and exhaling energy. Massive crystal columns lined the chamber, their surfaces webbed with intricate glyphs that glowed at his approach. High Priestess of Miara stepped forward, her robe a cascade of starlit silk. Eternal Rose accepted, trial surpassed, bond acknowledged by the council. Now the temple will decide. From hidden alcoves, adepts emerged carrying crystalline instruments that hummed as they neared Kevin and Attila. They affixed shimmering nodes to his chest arms and temples, each one sparking to life the instant it touched him. One adept gasped. His genetic resonance is adapting to the temple's frequency in real time. The moment Attila stepped beside him, the entire room changed. Every crystal in the chamber lit at once, something so rare that the High Priestess herself froze. Impossible. The prophecy crystals never activate together. Each predicts a single potential future. But now, holographic visions burst into the air. Children with human adaptability and Nixan psychic power. Starships that were alive, growing, and evolving in deep space. Colonies thriving in the most hostile environments in the galaxy. Ancient glyphs scrolled down the central spire. The High Priestess read aloud in a voice that echoed through the chamber. When two lines converge, the stars will choose new guardians. Together, they will become more than the sum of their parts. Kevin's voice was quiet but steady. So, all this because I took a flower. Attila's laugh was soft, almost reverent. Beloved, you didn't just take it, you were chosen for it. The central crystal began to spin slowly, shedding beams of light that wrapped around them both. The temperature shifted, the air thick with energy that felt ancient, primal, and intimate. High Priestess Miara's tone turned solemn. The moons align in 3 hours. At the peak, the temple will amplify your bond physically, genetically, spiritually. If the prophecy is true, your union will be the catalyst our species have awaited for millennia. Kevin gave a half smile. No pressure then. Attila leaned close, her breath warm against his ear. Oh, there will be pressure, and I intend to enjoy every second. From above, the great crystal dome slowly unfurled, revealing the night sky. The 3 moons of Nexus Prime were already drifting toward perfect alignment. The chamber's hum deepened, syncing with Kevin's heartbeat. For the first time since this all began, he understood this wasn't just about passing trials or avoiding a diplomatic mess. This was destiny written long before either of them was born. And destiny was waiting for them in the temple's heart. Union of 2 worlds. The temple's inner sanctum opened like the petals of a colossal crystal flower, revealing a chamber bathed in soft, bioluminescent light. Every surface shimmered with ancient glyphs that shifted subtly as if rewriting themselves in response to Kevin's presence. The High Priestess's voice carried through the chamber, solemn yet charged with anticipation. The moment is upon us. When the moons converge, the temple will merge your essences, mind, body, and spirit, magnifying what already binds you. Attila stepped through the threshold, her ceremonial robes flowing seamlessly into the temple's crystalline architecture, as though she were part of it. Kevin followed, wearing a garment of woven light that shifted with every breath. The instant their eyes met, the chamber reacted. Energy surged from the floor into the columns, then into the massive central spire. The walls became transparent, revealing the 3 moons slowly sliding into perfect alignment above. The prophecy comes alive. The prophecy crystals lit up one by one, and then all at once releasing a cascade of holographic visions into the chamber, human and Nixan children building cities on alien worlds. Starfleets composed of biomechanical vessels grown from living matter. A galaxy united not through conquest, but through connection. High Priestess Miara's voice trembled as she read the glowing glyphs racing across the air. When the rose is accepted in truth, the dormant lines will awaken. The union will bridge what was once divided, and the stars themselves will change their course. Kevin's jaw tightened, not with fear, but with conviction. So this isn't just about us, it's about what comes after. Attila smiled, the silver in her eyes glowing brighter than ever. Exactly, and it starts here. The convergence. As the final sliver of moonlight locked into perfect alignment, the temple's heart released a pulse of pure energy that swept over them. Every nerve in Kevin's body lit up, not with pain, but with a flood of connection so deep, it felt like his thoughts were no longer his alone. Attila's voice echoed in his mind, now warm and unguarded. Can you feel it, our bond? It's alive. I feel everything, he replied silently. The weight of her history, the hope in her heart, the fierce loyalty that mirrored his own. The temple amplified it all, weaving their life forces together until the boundaries between human and Nixan blurred into something entirely new. Around them, the crystalline walls erupted in cascading colors, sending beams of light out into the night sky. When the energy subsided, they stood in the center of the chamber. Hands still locked the glyphs around them, glowing in steady harmony. High Priestess Miara bowed her head. It is done. The bond is sealed, the prophecy fulfilled, and perhaps surpassed. Kevin glanced at Attila, unable to stop the grin tugging at his lips. Guess I passed the real final trial. Attila's answering laugh was like music, and the temple's crystals chimed in harmony, as if the ancient structure itself approved. Birth of Aurora. 9 moons had passed since the Temple of Union lit the Nixan skies like a supernova. In that time, the palace of House Nixan had become a meeting ground for 2 worlds. Human and Nixan delegations worked side by side, exchanging technology, merging military doctrine, and debating the ethics of psychic starships. But today, all of that faded into the background. Today, Kevin paced outside the birthing chamber. The crystalline walls around him pulsed with a slow, steady rhythm, synced to the heartbeat of the one inside. His fists clenched and unclenched, a soldier's habit when waiting for something he couldn't control. High Priestess Miara emerged briefly, her expression calm, but tinged with awe. Your mate's condition is optimal. The child's energy signature is unlike anything we've ever recorded. Footsteps echoed. Ambassador Thompson approached wearing the faintest smirk. You know more when I assigned you to Nexus Prime. I didn't expect you to rewrite 2 species' evolutionary future. Life's full of surprises, Kevin replied, trying to keep the nerves out of his voice. A deep, harmonic tone reverberated through the palace, the chamber's way of announcing the moment had come. Kevin didn't wait for permission. He pushed through the entryway. Inside, Attila lay within a cocoon of softly glowing crystal. Her lavender skin glowed from within, silver eyes bright with both exhaustion and joy. Energy fields rippled over her, resonating with the faint cries of new life. Kevin froze for a heartbeat, then stepped forward as the crystal opened. In Attila's arms lay a tiny form swaddled in shimmering cloth skin, a pale lavender that shifted subtly with her emotions and eyes that carried both Attila's silver glow and the depth of Kevin's own gaze. She's perfect, Kevin whispered, the words catching in his throat. Attila smiled faintly. Aurora, she said, after the Earth phenomenon you once showed me. Kevin nodded, voice steady now. Aurora Nixan More. Quite a name to live up to. When the child's tiny hand wrapped around his finger, the palace's crystals flared, projecting ripples of light across the city. Those attuned to psychic energy swore they felt something shift, as if a new frequency had been added to the galaxy itself. From the balcony, nobles and diplomats alike watched the glow spread, realizing this birth was not just a personal milestone, but a historical one. High Priestess Miara spoke for all. The prophecy has taken its first breath. 20 years later, the Great Hall of the Joint Species Council was alive with color, and sound banners of Earth and Nexus Prime hung side by side, and the air shimmered faintly with psychic projection overlays. Aurora Nixan More stood at the central podium. At 20, she was the embodiment of 2 civilizations. Her lavender-tinted skin carried subtle shifts of hue. With her emotions, her silver and deep hazel eyes locked onto every delegate with a gaze that was both regal and fiercely human. Kevin and Attila watched from their seats of honor at the edge of the chamber. Attila's hand rested lightly on his, the same mischievous spark in her eyes that had caught him in the gardens 2 decades ago. Aurora's voice was calm but powerful, carrying to every corner of the hall. The mixed colonies we built proved the truth my parents discovered. Our species are stronger together. The prophecies did not speak of one union, they foresaw the merging of 2 evolutionary paths into something greater. Holograms flared above her cities on worlds both human and Nixan, ships of living crystal and alloys sailing between stars and entire ecosystems thriving under joint stewardship. Delegates leaned forward, captivated. Aurora continued, "We are no longer just human, no longer just Nixan. We are what comes next, and together we will face the galaxy as one." The hall erupted into applause, psychic harmonics blending with human cheers. Later that evening, Kevin and Attila stood in their private gardens, the 3 moons rising over crystalline trees. Kevin's hair was streaked with silver, now his frame still broad and strong. Attila, ageless in her alien grace, traced a finger along his jaw. Kevin's voice was soft, thoughtful. "Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd asked what that flower meant before I accepted it." Attila's laugh was low and warm. "Probably exactly the same thing. Some things are simply meant to be." She leaned in, silver eyes catching the moonlight. like us. They kissed, and the garden's crystals chimed in response, a phenomenon the palace staff no longer found surprising. From the balcony above, Aurora approached, amusement in her voice. The council is already talking about expanding the breeding program to other species. Kevin smirked. Tell them to make sure they explain the flowers properly this time. Attila arched a brow. Or don't. After all, some of the best things in life come from beautiful mistakes. Legend of the Eternal Rose. Far beyond Nexus Prime in the archives of both human and Nixan worlds, there is now a story taught to every child. It begins in a crystalline garden with a human soldier and an alien princess. It speaks of a flower, the Eternal Rose, that was more than it seemed. It tells of trials designed to break outsiders, and of the one man who not only survived them, but changed them forever. Kevin Moore's name is carved into the crystal walls of the council hall, alongside Atilla Niellen's, not merely as rulers or diplomats, but as the founders. Their story is taught not as a tale of politics, but as proof. Human adaptability and Nixan unity are not opposing forces. They are two halves of something greater. The Temple of Union still stands, its prophecy crystals glowing faintly, showing visions of futures yet to come. Pilgrims from across the galaxy travel there, hoping to see even a fraction of what the temple revealed when Kevin and Attila stood inside. In the Capitol Gardens, the same spot where Kevin first met Attila, a sculpture now stands, a human hand and a Nixan hand clasped together with a blooming eternal rose between them. The plaque beneath reads, "Some mistakes are too beautiful to correct." On quiet nights, Kevin and Attila still walk those gardens. His hair has gone white now. Her silver eyes still carry that same dangerous sparkle. Sometimes they speak of the past, the trials, the diplomacy, the danger, but more often they simply enjoy the present. Aurora, now a leader in her own right, carries their vision forward. Under her guidance, the Human-Nixan Alliance has grown into a foundation for something larger, a galactic compact that welcomes all who choose cooperation over conquest. Historians still debate whether Kevin's acceptance of the Eternal Rose was fate or coincidence. But among the people, the answer is simple. It was destiny, the kind that doesn't come from ancient prophecies or political strategy, but from the unexpected meeting of two beings who saw each other not as alien but as right. Epilogue across the stars. Centuries from now, the galaxy looks nothing like it did on the day Kevin accepted the Eternal Rose. The Human-Nixan Alliance has become the backbone of the Galactic Compact, a network of worlds bound not by conquest, but by shared survival. In the Grand Archive of Unity, an ancient hologram plays endlessly in the Hall of Founders. Kevin Moore, older but still broad-shouldered and sharp-eyed, stands beside Attila, her silver gaze unchanged by time. Between them, Aurora addresses a crowd of hundreds of species. "We are living proof," her voice echoes across the hall, "that the walls between us are illusions. Tear them down and we don't just survive, we evolve." Far away, beyond charted space, the prophecy crystals in the Temple of Union glow in an unfamiliar pattern, one not recorded even during Kevin and Attila's union. A young adept stares at the shifting glyphs. "High Priestess, these visions aren't about the past." "No," the elder murmurs, eyes widening. "They are about what comes next." On a small, windswept world at the edge of the Orion Spur, a lone traveler walks toward the horizon. Their skin carries the faint lavender shimmer of Nixan heritage and the weathered grit of humanity. Slung over their back is a satchel, and inside it, a single eternal rose, its petals glowing with the same impossible light as the one given centuries ago in a garden on Nexus Prime. The traveler pauses, looking up at the unfamiliar stars. "All right," they say to no one in particular, a grin spreading across their face. "Let's see who's ready for destiny."